In this module, we shall be delving into the concepts of security compliance and auditing. Now, before we dive into the topics, it is important for you to understand the terms, what they mean for an individual or an organization, and how they are actually deployed in order to fulfill their set purpose. First, let's get into security compliance. As the name suggests, compliance defines the process of verification in which the controls in an organization measure up to the standards that the organization aspires to achieve. Security compliance is just one aspect of it, when oversees only security related controls of the organization. Security compliance is considered to be one of the most important aspects of the IT industry. In present times, when cyber threats loom large over the digital resources of an organization, security compliance provides a certain level of assurance that the physical and digital assets are functioning as intended and with maximum efficiency and security. The demand for professionals well versed in security compliance has seen an exponential growth. Now, all this sounds well and good on paper, but it is important to understand what is the real use of compliance from a practical perspective. With organizations putting more emphasis in enhancing the security capabilities and setting proper security measures at the planning stages, such precautions do not make compliance a redundant task. Compliance is required to ensure that the external and internal functions operating in an organization are as per the standards. In other words, it is as per the levels of efficiency and security that the organization requires them to be. Security compliance takes all the aspects of an organization, such as financial, technical, or business processes, into account. Apart from internal usage, it also helps build up the organization's reputation in the respective industry. Compliance being an abstract concept, a general set of standards is required in order to implement it in real practice and to make sure other entities associated with the environment understand the functions of the processes. In order to put forth a common benchmark to evaluate the features and processes of organizations around the world, certain standards have been proposed which are stringently followed by all. These standards are specific in nature and have been created keeping in mind the different grounds of evaluation of different domains in the IT industry. Some of the notable standards which are widely used in the industry are ISO 27001 2005 and PCI DSS. These shall be discussed in brief in the following slides. The figure seen here demonstrates the aspects of an organization and how ISO 27001 standard relates to it in order to provide an adequate level of assurance as far as the efficiency of the business processes are concerned. The domains covered here are security policy, which governs the overall documentation of the organization's security, organization of information security, which defines the structure of information security implementation and its various aspects, asset management, which manages organizational assets, human resources security, which covers security of organizational manpower, physical and environmental security, which facilitates physical perimeter based security parameters, communications and operations management, which, as is obvious, deals with the digital, social, and business related operations and communication, access control, where the access permissions for digital and physical resources are looked after, acquisition, development, and maintenance, which means dealing with the information system deployment and maintenance, information security incident management, which is associated with security incident handling and response, business continuity management. In here, the business processes of the organization are assessed and handled with utmost care, and at last, compliance. On the right side, the control domains are associated with the organizational structure wherein proper correlation is deployed with the technical and non-technical processes. Now, while ISO 27001 offers security compliance benchmarks for an organization, several other standards have also arisen based on specific requirements of the relevant industry that the organization focuses on. With that in mind, in this module, we shall turn our attention to another common standard known as PCI DSS or Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. This governs security controls over the data and information handled by the information systems for organizations engaging in offering online payment services for other organizations. Going into the set of guidelines defined in the standard, I shall list them as ordered in the standards documentation. First, to build and maintain a secure network. In this, the guidelines stipulate that vendor supplied default passwords and other system configuration should not be used, and a firewall should be installed and configured to protect cardholder data. Second is to protect cardholder data. Here, the recommendations guide the compliance expert to focus on protection of stored cardholder data as well as protection of transmitted cardholder data across open and public networks via encryption schemes. The third point is to regularly monitor and test networks. In this part, the recommendations are to track and monitor all access to network resources and cardholder data, and also to regularly test security systems and the underlying processes. The fourth point is to maintain an information security policy. In this, the document recommends that the information security responsibilities should be clearly defined and documented. A policy should be developed and maintained which focuses on all aspects of information security. The fifth point is to maintain a vulnerability management program. Here, the stipulations state that antivirus programs should be used to their full extent across the network with regular updates, and security processes should be properly implemented to pave the way for security systems and applications. The sixth point is to implement strong access control measures. For this part, the document states that access restrictions should be placed on the cardholder data on a strictly business need-to-know basis, and unique IDs should be assigned to each individual with computer access. Together with ISO 27001, this set of compliance standards are the most common for organizations which focus on information security. Moving on to a very important term in this module. Audit is something which is used to define the process of evaluation of all the controls that are present in an organization. With respect to the IT infrastructure deployed in an organization, IT auditing deals with the assessment of all that is associated with the management and operations of the critical infrastructure from various standpoints. IT auditing is a periodic process and should be conducted on a half-yearly or yearly basis so as to give time for changes to be fully incorporated into the organization before they can be assessed. While this process takes into account the overall IT resources of the organization, there is a part which deals with IT security, and that is known as security auditing. Security auditing is considered as a subset of the overall IT auditing process, with its primary emphasis on the security controls that have been deployed and are current in operation. In security auditing, the focus is to assess the operations and controls of an organization from a security standpoint and to see how the security issues that may arise due to improper functioning of the controls can relate to the business controls of the organization. A very essential aspect of IT auditing nowadays is correlating technical and non-technical events and provide a comprehensive report on the overall operations of the organization from a security perspective. With security being the primary area of concern for the IT industry now, security auditing provides the means by which an organization knows whether the current security measures are working effectively or not. Security auditing is also essential to gauge the security tolerance level of an organization's IT resources as to how much prepared it is to face threats of an unknown nature and what measures should be put in place for more security and efficiency. It also takes the physical security controls of an organization into account. Comprehensive assessment helps refine the information security policy of an organization. To be honest, it does serve more than its intended purpose, although the nature of the result and its interpretation depends on the environment that security auditing is employed on. Now, although these two terms have been coined separately, if we delve closely enough, it becomes all the more obvious that security auditing and compliance show an immense degree of correlation with concepts that overlap into both these domains. The underlying processes behind ensuring the compliance of an organization can be labeled as auditing itself, as the assessment programs employed during security auditing serve as a baseline to security compliance procedures. The difference lies in the factor of generality. Auditing is general in nature, while compliance adheres to a specific set of guidelines or standard in order to ensure prime quality and efficiency of an organization's control. Both these processes should be used in tandem so that while securing internal controls, the external controls are also kept in priority. Well, now in this module, it becomes imperative for us to understand the importance of risk management from an organization standpoint. First, let me in a few words define a risk. Risk is a probable event or a possibility that can prove to be detrimental to the desired outcome. Risk management deals with the concept of identifying, evaluating, and prioritizing risks and allocating appropriate resources to minimize or nullify the scope of such problems. With security issues on the rise, it becomes increasingly important for the organizations to employ proper risk management procedures, since even the slightest unforeseen incident can cause significant damage. Security auditing incorporates procedures to help identify and classify such risks, and through comprehensive evaluation, put forth measures to contain them. Well, that was all for the theory for the present module on auditing and compliance. Following this will be a practical demonstration to illustrate the concepts and implementation processes.
In this video, the concepts regarding security auditing shall be explained. Security auditing, in a few words, is to evaluate the business processes of an organization from a technical as well as a financial standpoint and from a complete security perspective. So, the tool which we shall be using here is known as Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer. This tool is mainly used to evaluate the networks of organizations which run on Windows platforms. Microsoft Baseline Security Analyzer gives us multiple options which we can use to evaluate computers based on different scenarios. So the first option that we shall select here is to scan our own computer and see what all aspects that we should consider while auditing our particular system. So these are different options we shall be dealing with over here. So the first thing is the computer name. The next thing would be the IP address, and another thing would be security report name. So for this particular video, I shall be evaluating our own computer. So for that, just selecting the computer name shall be enough. If you want to select any other computer which is present on the network, you can find out the IP address for that computer using the scanning processes which you have been taught in the previous videos, and finally entering the IP address over here. So keeping the rest of the options as default, you shall click on Start Scan. So this will start the auditing process for this particular computer. Security auditing is a very essential part of an organization's security, because if we do not evaluate an organization's network or its systems which are working on the network from a security standpoint, then proper assessment cannot be done, and we have no other way of knowing as to how effectively the network or the processes which are running inside the organization are functioning. So when the scan is finished, Security Analyzer shall generate a security auditing report by which we can see what all are the faults which we should cover while evaluating the security of our system. This process is indeed very lengthy and shall take a lot of time. Along with security auditing, security compliance is also very important and forms the major part of evaluating an organization's effectiveness. We have various standards in security compliance such as PCI DSS or ISO 27001, which are used to evaluate the effectiveness of the organization's processes. So right now the scan is being done for the computer which I'm working in. Apart from that, you can also evaluate different computers on the same network, or you can evaluate the whole subnet of the network. So when the scan is finished, you can get a report like this. It shows you different details of my computer, such as the computer name, the IP address, and the security report name is also there. As for the scan date and the version number of the security analyzer which scanned this particular computer. Here we can see that we get different issues related to this computer. Some vulnerabilities, some data or details regarding automatic updates. We have different columns here which indicates the seriousness or the rank of this update or this particular vulnerability detail, which is given as score. You can view how this particular system can be corrected and how different updates might be applied in order to correct this particular fault or error or vulnerability. So the next thing that should be done is to print this report, clicking here on this particular option. You can click on print. So once you take printout of this report, see this is the report which has been created. And this you have to submit to the person who is authoritative for your particular domain and who shall take administrative actions in order to patch up this particular computer. You can see here that it gives a list of all the updates which are missing from this computer and which shall be undertaken in order to provide security for this particular system. So Microsoft Security Analyzer is a very effective tool in order to evaluate or audit a particular computer which is running a Windows platform. So that's it for the auditing process.